Hey students, how's it going? I wanted to give you just a quick overview. So let's get into it. Learning outcomes. We're going to look at something called situational leadership. Um, and I'll give you some more information about this, but I'll tell you situational leadership, that particular theory, pretty important. Um, Helped me out to understand about some leadership issues that I had to take care of, and maybe it'll help you as well. So make sure you check that out. Pathgoal Theory is another leadership style. I haven't used this one very much in practice, but I have used situational leadership quite a bit. Make sure this week you're looking at motivational factors for leaders and how you motivate your followers and that sort of thing. A lot of that in this book right here, the North book. Make sure you get that. That's in chapters 5 and 6, I think. And then in chapter 2, out of this book right here, the Self Leadership book by Neck, Mans, and Holton. I will tell you, this book, by the way, just so you know, like I keep this one on my desk at work. It's very practical. A lot of good helps in there. But anyways, take a look at what's called the self-regulatory process and self-leadership, self-management, and topics out of I think it's chapter 2. Let's look at this whole idea of situational leadership. Now I know you've got diagrams in your book, so make sure, and there's obviously a whole chapter on this in the North book, chapter 5. But this is a different look at it. So I grabbed some different, tried to get some different graphics to kind of show you. Let me just walk you through this real quick. So what this means is if as a leader, sometimes you need to flex your style between directing, coaching, supporting, and delegating. And you do that based on the readiness, if you will, of the people following you. So for example, you may have people following you who are low in competence. Maybe they're new on the job, for example, but they're like raring to go. Their commitment's pretty high. I think you kind of know, probably some faces are coming to mind about those people who are gung-ho, they're ready to learn, but they're low in competence. All the way through to the other end, over here in the delegating section, of people who are very confident of what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They would be subject matter experts, if you will. And they're extremely committed to the organization and to the task at hand. Based on where your folks are at and what they need dictates the type of leadership style that you should adopt. Let's look at this a little bit differently. This one is not in your book. You'll notice that this is directing, coaching, supporting, and delegating. Those are the 4 different modes as leadership styles in situational leadership. In this particular organization at Purdue, they renamed them, which I kind of like too. It's the telling, the selling, the participating, and the delegating. And you can see, the different blocks have slightly different explanations than what you saw over here. So this is just a different way to look at the situational leadership style. Let me tell you a quick story about this. I'm going to go back to, I think I'm going to go back to this version for just a moment. At one of our branches, we have a branch manager at all of our branches, and each branch manager manages 3 to 5, maybe 6 people, that sort of thing. And one of our branch managers is new, and she had an employee who works for her, who was also new. This is a new branch. And there's actually a third employee who's a different employee as well. So we've got 3 employees down there, 1 branch manager and 2 employees. The branch manager is really, really good at coaching. And she coached the other 2 people she led the other 2 people using this coaching style. The problem is one of her people was brand new to the industry and they didn't know what they were doing. While they were excited to be there, for example, and they were raring to go, our branch manager was trying to coach them when she should have been doing more directing. In other words, what that means is this particular person needed to had some very, not micromanagement necessarily, but needed to be very, very specific about told what to do, how to do, where to go do, and what to do with her day. The other person in the branch, the third person, really could get away with just being coached. She was well enough along the learning curve where she just needed to be somewhat supported. She didn't need to be directed about what to do. So we told our branch manager, listen, you got to change gears when you're working with two different employees. They have two different, you're going to have to adopt two different leadership styles. And this is something sometimes as leaders we forget to do. We think that our leadership style is static, like it's always going to be the same, like we're always going to be these great coaches. Well, sometimes that's not what people need. They just don't. Sometimes people are perfectly good to be on their own, and you just need to delegate to them and get out of the way and let them do their thing. So just kind of a little story. And so now that branch manager is making some adjustments, and she's coaching one person, but she's being more directive with the other. Let's look at, similarly, kind of this Pathgoal Theory. Again, it's the idea that you have to look at what's going on around you before you select a particular leadership style. In the Pathgoal Theory, there's directive, supportive, participative, and then the achievement-oriented. One is not better or worse than the other, okay? And I would say as well, that's true here. None of these are better or worse than the other in terms of your employees. You just have to know where they're at. So back to the Pathgoal Theory, you have to take a look at what is it your people need? What is it that's going on in their life, or how do they respond to direction? And because we're all different. Some people want to have a lot of control over things. Some people want to be told kind of what to do. Some people need this thing called affiliation, where they just need to feel like they belong and that sort of thing. Take a look at the environmental factors. What's going on in the company? What's going on in your department? What are the things pressing in on it? And from that, you have to pick a particular leadership style and then focus on some of these different motivational factors. Again, this is presented a little bit differently in your book, but this is a different view of the same theory to hopefully give you a little bit of perspective on how to, just how to see it differently. Some reminders about the dialogues. The dialogue that's due, it's Wednesday, 11:59. You have an application exercise this week. It's due Sunday, again, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Self-assessment. The self-assessments are not graded. Those are really just to help prepare you for the quizzes and the project work and all that sort of thing. Kind of gets you into the thinking about it. Quizzes due Sunday, 11:59. And then the project work, let me talk to you about that a little bit. It's also due Sunday, 11:59. So I took what's in the syllabus. This is not replacing the syllabus. I just try to kind of reword it a little bit to maybe give you, again, a different way to understand what's going on. Choose one of those leadership theories, not necessarily the Pathgoal Theory or the Situational Leadership Theory. Pick another theory from the course someplace that we've studied so far. Besides your course text, find two other sources. You can use the White Library. I love Google Scholar. Okay, it works really well. The White Library is good. You do tend to get more, I think, medical references when you use the White Library at SAU. But it's also a lot to learn through the medical application of what we're looking. So again, look for leadership theories. Type in the name of the leadership theory in any of these search bars, and focus on free sites. Don't pay for Sage and all that kind of stuff. Just go for the free sites. Google Scholar is very handy. White Library is good. Just remember, it seems like there's a lot of filtering that goes on. You get a lot of medical type references when you're looking that up. I'm not going to go into this deep now, but make sure it's an APA style paper. And what you're going to do is you're going to describe the theory that you selected, and be sure to describe what you've learned and the knowledge that you've learned and how you're going to be able to use that, in your everyday leadership role at work. Talk about your own leadership development. What does this particular theory do to you? What are you learning about it? Be sure to cite any references, though, about the theory. Also talk about why self-leadership is important for, as an academic success, I kind of get that, but what about your career? How is self-leadership important to you? So, okay, that's it. Contact me with questions. Have a great day.